You need to tell them by the end of this webinar, nobody cares about your freaking product. The entire webinar structure. What is that and that?
If you do a webinar a week, you'll never have financial worries again. Or if you've committed to and do it.
Yeah.
The entire system to go from $0 to $1 million, and all it takes is one good webinar. My name's Raheem Farhouni, and I have my entire life to thank the webinars. The penthouse I live in, the lifestyle I live, anything and everything that I've achieved come from webinars. I've done over 500 of them, both for myself and clients, and I've skilled many people from the ground up using just a webinar. It is one of the most powerful vehicles that once plugged into your business, you will accelerate your cash flow so rapidly fast, you'll be wondering why you haven't done it before. You see, DMs, appointment setting, cold outreach, that's all one-to-one, and it's rough to scale as it requires a lot of talented people in the right place. But one good webinar will do all the selling for you, getting people pre-sold and ready to buy your offers any time of day. I mean, Alex Hormozi could have sold this book in a million different ways, but the vehicle he chose is a webinar because it is the fastest way to get your offer in as many hands as possible in record time and do $1 million days. That's why Dan Henry does $1 million in a day with webinars. Russell has done over $10 million in a day with webinars. And I've scaled many offers, businesses, courses, agencies, infopreneurs, coaches to $1 million using webinars. In this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I do it. So without further ado, let's dive right in.
This will not be over quickly.
All right, the webinar game plan. If you ever contemplated doing one or you ever wondered how you can craft a really solid one for yourself or for your client, we're going to break it down right now. What we'll cover, first of all, the creation process, my thought process behind creating them, what gets into from the ground up to making sure you have a webinar that converts, even if you've never done one before or even if you have asset. Best practices, what to always do to get sales, so what to never do to lose sales. And last but not least, any questions and answers, drop them in the comments below and I'll answer them in any next video. So first of all, the creation process, the mindset behind crafting a converting webinar. Now, the key to this is inversion thinking. Basically, a webinar is a whole cycle of shifting someone's belief, breaking their current belief pattern, which is essentially shifting their belief, but also breaking any limiting beliefs and as well as handling all the objections without them even realizing it. So in order to handle objections, you need to know what they are up front. It's like a sales call. In order to get the sale, you need to get through the objections. And it's the same with the webinar. If you want to get the sale in the end or at the end, you need to break the objections. So you need to list out all the factors that might hold someone back from purchasing despite it being something they genuinely need. Now, there are different types of factors that come into play here. It can be something like a variable factor. This can be a variety of things, such as they tried it before, it looks complicated, no like trust, time consuming, not necessary. This really depends on who you are. If you're a personal brand, you probably won't have any issue with the no like trust. But if it looks complicated, it depends on the offer you've built. These are things you need to figure out depending on your offer. If it's a very common offer like, I don't know, drop shipping or trading, I mean, people have tried that a million times before. You're not going to be the first one in the market with that. So a webinar talking about you should get my drop shipping or this course or that course with something that's very outplayed and done like SMMA, right? You need to hammer this objection, tried it before. That's going to be the key throughout the entire webinar, how this is different, why any other thing you've tried hasn't worked like this will work. That will be your front and center objection, your big domino that you're going to crush. So find out 1 or 3 key objections that will relate to your offer. It can be like, I don't feel like this product is necessary, right? Why would I even need this? Why can't I just carry on as is? Like maybe I'm already doing good and it looks more like a nice to have. You need to take that into account. Be the most skeptic person against your own offer and then figure out why would someone not buy it. Find out even the slightest reason because you'll need that to craft a really good webinar. Now, the next one is the price. This is a core objection always and kind of depends on your pricing, obviously, but at a degree, it will always be at the end a factor of price, right? You can have the best page, the best everything, you know how it goes, same on a sales call. At the end, you drop the price, and all of a sudden, the whole conversation changes. So, is it unclear or fake ROI? They can't really understand how will me paying this give me an immediate return, right? Or there's a complete and massive gap between me seeing ROI from this and me actually buying this now. Or it's an untangible ROI. I won't even realize or see it. I just kind of have to feel or hope for it. If these are factors that come into play with your product, that's going to be a core thing in the webinar. Now, prior commitment. If people, and this is something that might happen a lot, when they've already are using or bought or purchased into a tool, if you sell a product or service that a lot of people are already using a different variant of, that's gonna be the prior commitment. We're gonna hammer that. It's kind of the same like tried it before, but in this case they haven't tried it before, they're still using that other thing. So you're literally trying to switch people from providers, and therefore we need to tackle the reasons why they should. Now, no urgency feels like, this is the price. Cool. Now I know it. I'll get it when I'm a little bit more up or when I have a little bit more wiggle room. You know how it goes. So if there's no urgency or you feel like people won't buy this because, there's no reason to buy it now, this is something you always need to factor in. Add massive urgency. Now, the last one is uncertainty. This can be uncertainty in themselves. They don't feel confident that this will work for them, or there's an external risk of failure. Like your product is great, it looks amazing, but I don't think I can get traffic. I don't think I can get clients. I don't think I can hop on a sales call. Like I believe you are going to give me all the tools and everything, but when it comes to me talking to other businesses or fulfilling, I'm afraid I won't be able to do that. And you need to keep these things into account as well. External risk of failure. If this is going to be an issue or can be an issue with your offer, that's going to be another key component in your webinar. So will always be one of these things or a variant or multiples, as a matter of fact, of these things that we will cover or subtly inject and handle throughout the webinar. We're going to have specific sections dedicated to this in the format of storytelling that have them self-affirm and commit that this is not a problem. For example, we might have a slide saying, hey, even if you've never done this before, let's do a worst case scenario rundown. Let's say you only get 100 views on your post and you post 5 videos. Well, combined, that's already 500 views. Imagine you right now walk into a room of 500 people. That's a lot, no? And now we switch the belief of, you know what? Even if I almost fail at this, I can still expect quite good results, right? So this can be anything in relation to unconfidence or external risk of failure. Maybe they don't want to show their face. They feel unconfident. Nobody's going to watch me. Nobody knows me. Boom, we hit it like that. So we're now going to create simple analogies that tackle each of these things. Now, per product, per audience, per offer, these variables might change. If it's a very straightforward offer or it's a very unique offer that people don't really understand why they need it, boom, we'll have the not necessary, might feel time consuming, it's unclear or fake how I'll even will get an ROI, and I'm not even confident this will work or I'll use it for long term. Confidence can relate to a lot of different things. Now you have your mix of key objections. Boom, we're going to tackle them in the webinar. By the end of the webinar, they need it as bad as they need oxygen. So next, we're going to do the bridge positioning. The product is a means to an end. And this is the biggest problem that I see with anyone selling any product for any matter. Nobody cares about your freaking product. They don't care. They do not care about your product. It's just a means to an end. I don't care about the gym. I care about the results that the gym give me. I don't care about, this or that or the laptop. I'm a website. When I go and get a website builder, I don't care about the website builder or the website itself or the platform. I care about the result it will give me. Is it available to, is it fast loading? Can clients always get it? Does it look good? Does it give me authority? The end results are what I'm in it for. The website is just a means to an end to get more authority. Same with your offer. It's just a means to an end, right? Now, what is that end that they want? We need to position your offer not as the end, which unfortunately a lot of people do, but as the bridge to that end. Meaning, your audience right now is at a current situation and they want to go to their desired situation. Now, the positioning is your offer. A lot of people think their offer is this. No, this is where they want to be, and the way to get there is your offer. Meaning you're doing everything right, but here's what's missing. That's another thing. You don't want to tell people they're doing everything wrong. they're doing everything bad. I mean, it might work for some, and some even get a pump out of it or motivated. But on average, people don't want the blame or responsibility. They like to point the finger. That's why we always tend to say, cast stone at the same enemies, you'll become friends, etc. Meaning, if we both say, you know what, it's actually not your fault. You've been doing everything all right. The only reason you'll be failing is because people have been telling you to do it like this, but you couldn't have known because all this time, yada, 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 boom. Now they're like, oh, yeah, I knew it wasn't my fault. So that's rich positioning. So this is the entire webinar structure. Now that you've done this little bit of pre-homework, we go into the webinar structure, the introduction, the core content, and the pitch. The introduction is all about setting the momentum. The intro slide is so key. It's a first impression, right? It's like the first thing they'll see. They'll have their brain subconsciously making decisions on the spot, right? That first slide will tell you this is going to suck. I'm excited for this. It can give you a certain feeling based on what you see. You're going to judge. Like if I see a fire slide, maybe I see some drawings, I see a little mind map somewhere in the beginning, I see a screenshot of a payday, depending on what niche or industry I'm in, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be fire. Or if I see a very bland, boring slide, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be a lecture, right? And even though they might register for that, and it also varies per industry, your intro slide will tell a lot. So take time for it, right? Sometimes that's what takes the most time for me, nailing that intro slide. And the intro slide is literally the cover. Now, the energy, set the energy off the bat, right? You don't want people to be, bored out of their minds, hop on their phones and miss 90% of what you're saying. You want to have good energy, pace, tonality. These are things I honestly can't teach. You just have to have it. Now, that doesn't mean you have to be an extroverted person. Quite frankly, I'm not myself. You just have to know how to talk at the right times of moment. And I think if you're excited about a topic, if you're excited about something, you'll naturally talk in an uplifting way about it, right? If you're telling a story, something that happened, something that you're generally interested in, aha moments, things you want other people to understand, you get interested yourself. If I hear from your voice that you're bored out of your mind even explaining this, then it's not going to be much fun for me. For example, I come from a dancing background. I used to dance a lot, etc. And when I look at other dancers and I don't see the emotion, I don't see the joy or the energy or that they are feeling themselves, then I can't feel it, right? And it's the same with a webinar, for real. Now, setting the tone is really making sure you get that engagement early on. If you don't put in engagement triggers within the first few slides, asking them if they can hear and see, then a few slides further, also letting them know, hey, I literally cannot continue until we get an A-OK from everyone here in the chat. A lot of people will also pre-think, oh, this is probably recorded. Call the objection out loud. And if you think it's recorded, try me right now, drop a comment in the chat. Now, there are things to go about, and you might find this ethical or not ethical. You can have a list of the most common names of people born in certain ages and just call out all those names, and you'll probably land 80% of the people, even if it's recorded. Now, if you want to do that, do that. If you're like, nah, that's a bit unethical, all you. Either way, if you're doing it live, make sure you get that engagement. And even if it's pre-recorded replay, still get people to engage because you can do a replay and still be live with them in the comments. Now, the before and after is really important. They need the big promise early on because that's the whole reason they're there. You need to tell them by the end of this webinar, here's what you're going to achieve. Here's what you can expect after this webinar, right? You're now this, and after this webinar, you'll be this. That's going to give them that initial excitement to stay on and also signal that they made a really good decision jumping on in the first place. Now, next, you have the core content. This is where it needs to make sense. Set up the secrets, the data sets. This is where you basically share your aha moments. The secrets is the three things you'll cover. The third thing for me is always the page. I know a lot of people do the old school perfect webinar script from Russell Brunson. It's too long. It's too long. People don't have the attention spans for it. You can pull it off if you're really good, but if you do webinars the way I do them, where people already are sold halfway in the webinar, they'll just start saying, just tell me the offer. Just show me the offer. They're ready to buy. If I then continue, but you also have secret tree. And how about, they're like, you know what? Email me the offer details later. I'll see you then. So I started shortening my webinars because I was able to get people to convert really early on. So I pitched my secret tree, which keeps it in a more narrow time frame. Now, the plug and play, you want to give them something they can use, right? You don't want to just overload with info and they're like, I still have no clue how to do this. You want to give an aha moment, right? Like the reason haven't been able to land clients is because your pixel data is connected to your site, but where your pixel data really should be connected to is your video views, because content, yada yada yada. Now they're like, oh, that one plug and play, that golden nugget signals to me that your stuff is good, that your stuff is practical, and that I want to try this more. You need to give something tangible, something that makes sense they can use in real time, not something that takes a lot of time to actually see the results from. It can be a simple script, a template, an opening line, the best subject line, and explain why it works that way. Self-affirmations throughout the entire webinar, meaning at every given point, they call these trial closes. You need them to tell you that it makes sense. You don't tell them, and here you go, right? You ask them, does it make sense? You tell them, hey, can you now see why this will get you results? Can you imagine yourself getting much more results if you do it like this? You don't tell them this will give you much more results. You tell them, can you imagine yourselves? Do you see yourself? And then you read out the comments of people saying, yeah, just give me a quick yes if you can, because that means you truly understand it. And everybody wants to show that they understand things. So now they're saying yes the whole time, making it easier for you to get the big yes at the end. Last but not least, the pitch, trust and certainty. This is where my favorite two clauses are the math and the drop. Now, the math is and that's kind of what I spilled before, is I do the worst case scenario. I do the math, and it also depends on the offer. But let's say we do something random like a weight loss offer. It's like, let's say you're very inconsistent, right? You miss sometimes, personal life gets in the way, you can't always commit, you go off your food schedule and you don't hit the exercises. If you follow this system, and you only do 2 out of the 5 things, that means you'll still lose this amount of weight, and the worst case scenario is still way better than whatever they got going on right now. That makes it for them that, you know what, I literally cannot fill with this. So the math works really well for me. I use that close a lot of times. The drop is a known one, the regular price drop, but I added a spin to it where I take the big number, and then because you're on this webinar, we're going to discount it. We're going to discount it. I don't do too many drops because it becomes kind of a silly joke at that point. I just do 2 really good drops, but I do realistic drops. I do a drop to the price point you actually believe it's that. Not a drop from, instead of being $100 gazillion, it's only $1,000 gazillion. And then you're like, nah, no way, right? You still know or expect it's gonna go down for sure. But if I drop it now, instead of being 12K, we're gonna drop it down to 2K only on this webinar. Now you're like, whoa, bro, 10K off, 2K. And then I might do another one that makes it more realistic, that you're like, you want them to think it can't get cheaper than this. That's the whole idea of a price drop. The price drop's not the feeling of, oh, I'm getting a massive discount. It's the feeling of, it cannot get cheaper than this. Any number under this is just, it's free, right? So if I get you to commit at 2K, you're like, man, 2K, that's great. So let's say I do a more realistic driver, because 12 to 2 is pretty big. I won't do that big jumps, honestly. Let's say I'm doing, instead of 4997, we're gonna drop it down to 2997 for everybody that gets this on the webinar. Plus, you're gonna get these bonuses, etc. Now that's like, okay, that's a decent drop. That's a good discount. Now they're going to say, hey, and for anyone or the first 50 people that grab it on the webinar, we're going to do additional fast action discount, dropping it down to just 997. Now you're like, I'm in. Now, if I drop it one more time, any price below 997, you got to have it, right? I already got everyone at 997 to commit. If I already get you to commit at the price that it's not even it, and let alone when I get to the real price. So you know what? Since it's the end of year special, we're actually gonna do half off 497. Take it or leave it. I can't even believe we're sharing this price right now, but there you have it. We can't wait to welcome all of you in. The team is on standby right now. We're rolling out the red carpet as we speak. Simply go to the order form, click right here, and you see the discount coupon is already applied. All you have to do is get in, but act fast, because as you know, this should not be 497. You know it, I know it, but let's pretend nobody knows, you're gonna get it right now, etc. Blah blah blah. You go through the script. So do a realistic price drop, not these random fake numbers and people are just waiting on the real one because everyone knows what it's going to be. Now, again, this varies per industry because some industries are not familiar with this and they're just, if you're doing B2C and they've never seen a price drop like this, they're actually like, whoa, okay. So you also need to know your audience and the market you're in. FOMO bonus, fear of missing out bonus, a bonus specifically only on the webinar works really well. Only on this webinar, you'll be able to get this. The more you can showcase and demonstrate at that point, the better. And exclusivity, right? Do things, again, that make your offer even more exclusive only for the people that grab it live on the webinar right now. There needs to be all the reason to grab it now instead of later. That's the whole point. If you hit these notes, you're going to absolutely crush it. Now, I can go through these more in detail. Again, the intro slide, see right here, if we compare these two, right, the webinar gameplay versus this one, which one is going to intrigue you more, right? There you have it. The energy, like I said, be excited versus, getting people to bore out at the first second already. Setting the tone is people in the back of their mind, especially if it's a cold audience that came in through ads. They're like, "Joe, I just want to know the price." If it's a sophisticated market, I just want to know the price. It's the same with a sales call. They hop on to like, just tell me the price, right? Set the tone. Tell them, even call it out. Hey, I know if you're in this market, you know how these webinars go. So you probably just are waiting to see what this costs and it actually would help you. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be worth every second being here because we're not just going to show you a little tool. We're actually going to break down how to solve this problem, this problem, this problem. Now they're like, all right, you're speaking my language. Acknowledge the fact that they're not wanting to sit here for an hour to get pitched something. Acknowledge that, right? I have webinars where I say, now, I've been to a million webinars myself, and at the end of the day, it's always some pitch fest with a racks of rich story. Now, I'm going to do my very best to make this not that. I'm going to make sure you're actually going to get amazing value, and if you love what I'm sharing with you, then maybe you'll also want the offer I'll be sharing at the end, etc., right? Be transparent. Now, this depends on markets once again. If you're in a sophisticated market, you want to hit it like that. Now, your ego, drop it down. A lot of people want to, increase their authority, credibility. I've done this, this, and this, and that works. You need to show your authority, but also tone it down. Get back from the guru mountain. Because if I tell you, you can be like Mr. Beast, you're like, wow, he's way up there. It's going to be hard for you to relate to that gap. It's way too far. But if it come back from the Guru Mountain and tell you like, here's where you can get started. Because before Mr. Beast was Mr. Beast, here's what he actually did. He only created one video a week group. He come down from all the success. So you get back to the floor level on the same line. So whether you're using a persona as their, success or yourself, make sure you also come back to the early stages so you can meet them where they're at. It's like you're talking to a child. I have to go back down on eye level to meet with them eye to eye. And then we have the before and after early in the webinar. Share them that before this webinar, this is where you're at. After the webinar, this is what you will be. Now, the core content, the setup of the secrets. Now, the way I set up the secrets, it's actually pretty interesting because you either have a product that's so obvious people need. Maybe it's about generating more clients. Everybody knows they need to generate more clients, and like it's something I don't have to convince you. You know that that's the result you want and need. So in that case, I'm gonna demo the tool. If I'm doing a SaaS webinar, I'm gonna demo that in Million Secret One. But if it's something less obvious, I'm going to, let's say it's something like it's something complex. I can't think of something on the spot, but let's say it is, you need to start posting more on X. And it's super unclear why. And it's an X growth system, but why X? Why there? Why should I? And it's a tool that will help you grow on X. And you're like, bro, why would I even need this? Then I wouldn't necessarily do the demo in Secret One. I can still pull it off, but I would use Secret One to make people understand the hidden client system on the most underrated platform. And then I'm going to break down the amount of engagement X has compared to other platforms, the change I made and why I made it to go to X, how fast someone can scale on X compared to other platforms. Now they're completely convinced, all right, X is the place to be. And then in secret number two, now that you know how powerful X is, let me show you a system that automatically allows you to tap into threads, comment with people, etc. Then in secret two, we're going to go to the demo. So it really depends on how obvious it is what you need or what you offer. How obvious is it that I need it? If it's not obvious, first explain the reasons why this is the best way to do things right now. If it is super obvious, hit him with the demo as fast as you can, because the demo excites people. And this is specifically for SaaS, right? Now, make sure the secrets are actually combined with each other. They can't stand alone. Now, the next one, you have data sets. And this is something that I like to use. Find articles from Forbes, Entrepreneur Magazine, Time Magazine, things people know, because, oh, if Forbes says it, must be right. If this person said it, many times I leverage in my webinars, like Gary Vaynerchuk wrote in his book X. Alex Hormozi said X, right? People with influence and knowledge. Heck, I even used in some of my slides Albert Einstein. One of the things he said, any fool can make things extremely complicated. It actually takes a touch of genius to go into the opposite direction, which is a quote from what's his name, Albert Einstein. And that's a webinar where I talked about simplifying your business for profits, how you need to stop with all the bells and whistles and literally only do this one simple thing to make people understand how simple things actually should be. And it's a framework we call back to the basics, right? There are different frameworks within frameworks that you can apply. Now, this one right here, data sets, I need to actually find someone of importance or a magazine cover or anything that is known by a large amount of people that can say, hey, I can verify that proof because this person says it, right? So I use Forbes a lot of time, use their big data. That's great. If I can just get a couple of Forbes case studies, make a screenshot, tell me, hey, according to this Forbes article, they're like, oh, sweet, Forbes, yeah, that all the rich people know Forbes, rich people read Forbes, must be right. So find data sets to actually justify everything you have said. So we need emotional justification. I won't go on a tangent here. Emotional justification really is, if you want to buy a jacket, right, because it looks cool, but that's the emotion. You just want to stand out. You want to look cool. There's a good jacket. It fits you. You got that. You got it like that. But you can't justify it logically, right? It would be foolish to spend that amount of money on it. The fabric's not even that great. You need that justification to make the purchase feel right, or else low key you'll feel bad about it, and you're gonna get that buyer's remorse. So this happens in the same kind of daylight, where after I've taken you through a emotional story whatsoever, I need to justify logically by backing up with data, proof, testimonials, stats, facts, you name it. Just undeniable or irrefutable proof. The plug and play, this is something I always give away in the core content, a script, so they feel they actually got something out of this webinar. A 3-step method, right? Don't go over complex. A simple thing anyone can do. I'm like, hey, from this point forward, everybody that's on this webinar should do this one thing to get X faster, or do this or do that. Then they feel like I'm actually telling them, hey, do you enjoy that little trick? And do you see how that is actually going to help you do it? Yeah, all people are going to say yes. They're going to actually be happy, right? And you can ask them, are you happy that you actually showed up here today? Lots of yeses. But if you just keep on spewing info, story, rags to riches, story, info, and there's nothing tangible that I'm like, yes, I got something out of this, even though they need the mindset, you know, people deep down want the tactics, and you just give them a little bit of that to satiate them in that field. So give them a script, give them a plug and play, give them, here are the top 50 best headlines to use for any video, right? Maybe your webinars about videos or whatsoever. Now, self-affirmations, can you see why? Do you see why? Comment, I want this. This is one I say a lot. You say, hey, if you actually love this, comment the word I want this, right? Have them self-affirm. Don't force it upon them. Let them sell themselves on it. So last but not least, the page. Now, the page is the release of the slingshot. Basically, what you've been doing the entire webinar is just pulling back the slingshot. And the better job you've done, the more or further back the slingshot has gotten. Now, if you did a great job, boom, you let go of the slingshot at the page, flies all the way across the yard. You're doing a ton of money. I've done 50Ks on webinars on a $200 product easily. I've done a 19K products, which then went to booking a call. I mean, the further back you take the slingshot, the further you'll reach. So it's basically the release of the slingshot at the pitch. Everything you've built up, all the objection handling, the storytelling, the golden nuggets, the 3 secrets, everything, the plug and plays, the tonality, it all led to this moment. Now, the realistic price drop. Sell at a higher price point than it actually is. Realistic, right? Find a price that's actually it makes sense that this is worth that, and not like something that everybody knows this is not going to be the price I'll have to pay. You can start there briefly, but get to a point and stop there just long enough for people to believe, all right, this is it. And if you can get them to convert at that price, saying, now before I actually drop the price, I literally, hey, well, we're gonna drop it down all the way to just 1997. Now you know that if we do the math and you use this and you maybe even just log in once or twice a day, you'll be able to make that 1997 back because of XYZ, right? And just to make sure you're in great hands, you have a 30-day money back guarantee, remove all the risk, etc. So now it's like, you know what? 1997, I'm going to drop it. I got to drop it, right? It's good. And then, now, if you want to grab this at the massive discount of 1997, let me know in the chat box right now. You're already going to get a lot of buyers, and you're going to have people that are not saying anything because they're on the fence. And you're going to say, well, here's the great news. Even though 1997 is already a great discount, we're gonna do another $500 off, dropping it to just 50. Now they're like, you know what? Now I gotta have it. And all the people that were on the fence, like the ones that are already sold, they're sold. You could have sold it even at that price point, right? But people that are all on the fence, now they also trickle in much easier. Next, we have the best bonus is your product. So if you're selling something, the best feature of it is oftentimes the bonus. So if I'm selling, let's say I'm selling AirPods Pro Max. And obviously, one of the best features is the silencer, or whatever they call it, the noise canceling. I would offer that as a bonus, even though you already get it, but on the webinar, I'd say, if you grab this right now, you're also going to get, because you're getting it on this live webinar, which is essentially true, you're also going to get the noise canceling function, which allows you to block out all the noise. So grab it on the webinar. So the best feature, one of the best features of the product, I'll make that the webinar bonus, right? Now, last but not least, exclusivity, make it a tangible discount. Create either something that makes it exclusive, a coupon, and make the name of the coupon something very specific, something specific to the webinar, to the time, to the date, something that makes it that, oh, I could have only gotten this right now. So that is pretty much it. That's the creation process. Now, this video is already into the 30 minutes. I might hit the best practices. I'll run over it really quickly. One, multiple choice quiz. Let the audience do a quiz. I love quizzes, right? Everybody loves to show off that they know things better than someone else. Let's see if we have some smart marketers in the house. A or B, what does XYZ, right? Where does the majority spend their attention daily? On their phone or on their laptop, right? Or I would do a percentage quiz. How many percent of people day to day spend their time on their phone? Is it 80, 90, or 99, right? And people are going to guess, and it's fun, and it's actually learning something, because when they finally see the answer and you show the proof that that is the answer, so find an article or some data, you can now relate that to why it's so important that we post vertical content, or we do X, Y, or Z. Do quizzes throughout the entire thing, right? It works so well to create that interactivity, get people involved, and don't have them sit back, and etc. Next, tangible discount, like comment the word live discount to get your live discount, right? Make it tangible. Acknowledge everyone. I don't care if there are a million people on the webinar, you're going to speak all of their names out. Find a way, you find out. Right? When or how? Just quickly. Awesome, John. Perfect. So as I was saying, hey, Donnie, just seeing your comment there. Now, what we're going to do is the XYZ. Now, after that thing, we're going to make it sure. Now, if you have any questions like Marie, like Donnie, like this, find quick ways to name names, because if you get your name called out, it feels like you're being seen. If you've read, the OG book, what's it called? How to Win Friends and Influence People, have it somewhere around here. A person's name, Dale Carnegie, and I quote, is to that person the sweetest and most important sound in any language. Acknowledge it. Acknowledge it, especially on a webinar, right? I remember I was in a webinar of Dan Henry, called out my name. I was like, ooh, all right, he seen me, right? And it's like, imagine like Alex Ramosi, someone just calls out your full name. They're like, oh, you saw me, right? And maybe it doesn't matter to you that much, or right now, since I'm at a specific level, it might not affect me as much. But in my early stages, I was like, it's fun. You're getting a little smile on your face, right? So it helps a lot to acknowledge people. Now, what if it's semi-live? Then, like I said, if you find it ethical or not, you can literally go to the top names over the last 100 years and just call those out throughout your webinar, right? And semi-live means you pre-recorded the webinar, but if you still want to create that effect of it's kind of being live, you can find a list of names pre-recorded, or there's a list of baby names of people born in this particular area, and the most common names, and name and throughout the thing. Bite size everything, right? Bite size everything. Don't put a ton of text on the slides, right? People, scrolling addiction, short attention span. I don't have to tell you, brain rot, whatever you call it. You need to bite size the whole lot. I sometimes see people spending hours on a slide, breaking things down. Like even this thing right here, everything is bite sized, right? Like, I could have dropped all the info on this slide right here, but it's one by one by one, right? Same on the webinar. Do it one by one. Now, question and answers, drop in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. Now, best practices again. If you're doing a demo with no voice, that is obviously bad. I've seen demos where people just do music in the background and just cool things around. Forget about it, right? Really have a proper demo explanation. So this is not a best practice. This is a horrible practice. I don't know why I've put it on this side. Multiple price points is a bad thing to do. So I think these things need to swap around. So this shouldn't be the best practices. Just wherever you see an X, that is bad. Wherever you see a green, that is good. So doing like anyone that comes on the thing will win a free product, that's bad. Sending people to a sales page to buy, horrible. They just spent 60 minutes. You're now gonna send them to a sales page to read things, because people are gonna go to, oh, there's images here too, there's text here too, and they're gonna read and gonna wait and like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna take a screenshot of this page, I'm gonna bookmark this page, I'll come back later. You're delaying your own success, right? Send them straight to the order form. The less is more. Pay button, that's it. Right? Now, random bonuses that have nothing to do with the product, don't do that. Reading long copy on the webinar, don't do that. Straight to back end. I kind of forgot what I meant by this. Don't do that. I don't even know why I said that. Also, open tickets. I think what's straight to back end is that right after because the way I do webinars is we do a front end webinar and a back end webinar, but we need something in between it. But I don't know if that what I was referring to. I created these slides when I did a consultation in a room full of 6 and 7 figure earners in Dubai, which also is a room filled with a lot of my clients, and I got invited to speak on how I scale their businesses with webinars. Because they just give me the product and I do the magic, but they never really know how I do it. So it's been like some time past since I spoke on that stage. I'll get back to this. Great practice, clear all your open tickets, because there will people that will use your chat box or your question box to use it as a support. Like, I've been trying to reach you for years. Clear all open tickets so they don't use your chat box as a support system. Rob up the chat. Talk in the chat. Have a chatter, a friend, a family, whatever, to also be in the chat as you're speaking. Intervene throughout. If you're doing a joint webinar with a and this is a little bit more specifically to me, I'll do a lot of webinars for my clients, and I will recommend them to intervene me throughout to let the audience know that they're still there, because I take over everything. The product, I'm like their behalf on behalf of the team. I just do the whole lot. I'm not the face of the product. I'm the person that will show you why this is the best product on behalf of this or that person. But what works great, and I've done a million webinars where the owner is not even there. They just see the numbers coming to their bank account. They couldn't care less. But I've seen better conversions, especially if it's your own audience, if the personal brand comes in, kind of says hi, or just adds a few words saying, man, that's so true. That's more than enough. Don't let them do too much of the talking, because it might derail the entire flow. Now, chat engagement, typing in chat's great. Homework and teasers before the webinar starts helps to get people excited and prepped. Action plans and training before the webinar helps. And then build a community after and before the webinar. I don't have to tell you that. That always helps, because if you have a community, you take that community onto a webinar, or if you have a really raving fan or following base, you take that people on the webinar, you're going to close all of them. It's going to be really easy. If you're going to do a webinar for cold traffic, you're going to be a little bit more skilled. It's still possible if skilled people are from the ground up with cold traffic webinars. But if you have a community built up first, it's going to be a lot easier. Now, it's not a must, but it can help. Now, with that being said, this is the webinar best practices, the webinar gameplay from data from over 300 live webinars. Now, by this time, I've already done well over 500 live webinars. The structure, the do's and don'ts. Ask me anything, drop it in the comment section below. And a fun little thing that I'll be doing is, if you want a great consultation, some advice, and nothing to sell, just drop what you liked about this video and what you want the next video about, or just leave a comment regardless. And since I probably won't have many views or engagement at this point in time, you're probably the first one to be picked, and I'm going to give you some amazing things that will help you scale a whole lot faster. With that being said, my name is Raheem, and I'll see you in the next video.